When a peaceful land finds itself threatened by the armies of the ruling force, this ordinary farm girl transforms into an extraordinary force and becomes their best hope for survival. Fueled by determination and unexpected allies, her journey becomes a testament to the power of resilience in the face of cosmic adversity, while the mystery of her past unravels through the story. Hello, welcome to I Am Movies. Today we're looking into the first part of the 2023 American space opera film called Rebel Moon: A Child of Fire. But before we jump into the details, make sure to show us some love by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Now, let's get right into it. The movie begins in a small farming village on the independent moon of Veld, after the assassination of a once mighty king and his daughter, Issa, who ruled from a militaristic empire fueled by centuries of conquest and war, known as the Mother World. In the farming village, we meet a farmer named Cora, who is a former Imperium soldier, now wanted for desertion. One day, while planting fresh seeds for a new season, the people of Veld see the Mother World's deadliest battleship, known as the King's Gaze, appear in their skies. This battleship is led by Admiral Atticus Noble, a sadistic military leader who has been in pursuit of a group of rebels, led by two siblings, Devra Bloodaxes and her brother Darian. However, immediately after Cora sees the battleship, she senses something bad is about to happen, and she immediately alerts the people. Shortly after, the villagers, led by a man named Sindri, gather in their meeting hall known as the Long Room, to deliberate on what to do next, knowing fully well that the Imperium soldiers have come for their food. An ambitious man named Gunnar suggests they welcome the soldiers and try to sell their surplus harvest to them at a higher price, and also proposes a partnership. However, Cora reveals to them that the battleship does not represent anything good, stating that its purpose is to destroy and enslave people. With this, Cora advises them to give the Imperium soldiers what they ask for, but desist from telling them how fertile the land is, and they all agree. Soon, Noble and his soldiers arrive and Sindri welcomes them. Shortly after, Noble requests to know more about the village and Sindri invites him into the long room to have a cup of ale, as they discuss. However, Noble reveals to Sindri that they have been searching for a small band of rebels, stating that the rebels have been attacking their food supply ports, and subsequently proposes a juicy partnership, promising to buy their food at triple the market value. However, Sindri tells him that their land is rocky and infertile, stating that its yields are barely enough to feed the village, and subtly declines the offer. In the long room, Noble openly asks to meet the man in charge of the harvest, and Gunnar reveals himself as the person in charge. Now, contrary to their agreement, Gunnar tells Noble that they have surplus food in store, stating that they have been lucky and are willing to sell their surplus to him. Contradicting Sindri's words, Noble accuses Sindri of trying to mislead him and beats him to death with his staff, as the villagers watch in shock. Immediately, Noble tells Gunnar to get the people to work, stating that he'll be back in 10 weeks for all their harvest. Shortly after, Noble takes off, leaving a few of his men behind to guard the village. Afterward, a young Imperium soldier named Eris unveils a box and finds a war robot named Jimmy in it. Eris orders Jimmy to help them move their supplies into the village, and it willfully oblige. However, a soldier named Marcus spots Jimmy and tells his commander that war robots no longer fight. The commander doesn't believe this, and Marcus begins to shoot Jimmy repeatedly just to prove his point, and Eris confronts him. Feeling challenged, Marcus threatens to kill Eris, but the commander intervenes, subsequently asking the robot to get itself cleaned up in the river. At the river, a young lady named Sam offers Jimmy a towel, and it thanks her for her kindness. Then, Sam asks Jimmy if it is a soldier, and Jimmy tells her that war robots like him stopped fighting long ago. Jimmy tells her that his kind once pledged their allegiance to Princess Issa, hoping that she'll usher in a new era of peace. However, on the day of her coronation, the princess and her father, the king, were assassinated by those they trusted the most. Feeling betrayed, the robots lay down their weapons in allegiance to the slain king. Meanwhile, as the villagers gather to bury Sindri, they begin to deliberate on what to do next, and one of the villagers named Den suggests they give the soldiers the grains and fall at their mercy in hopes that they'll have a change of heart, stating that they'll work hard enough to appeal to the soldiers' humanity. On hearing this, Cora decides to pack her things and leave, seeing that the people have lost all hope. However, Hagen, the man who saved Cora after she abandoned the Imperium, tries to convince her to stay and fight for her people, but she refuses, stating that the village is lost. Meanwhile, Marcus and some other soldiers try to rape Sam, but young Aris confronts them. However, they overpower him and beat him up. Soon Cora arrives with an axe and warns them to let Sam go, but one of the soldiers points his gun at her, asking her to surrender her weapon. At this point, Cora swiftly begins to kill the soldiers one after the other, and Eris joins her in the fight. However, the commander holds Sam hostage, seeing that he's the only one left. Soon, Jimmy arrives at the scene to see his new friend, Sam, being held hostage. The commander orders Jimmy to kill Cora and Eris, but Jimmy picks up a gun and kills him instead. Soon the villagers arrive to see the damage done, and Cora tells them that they'll now have to fight. With this, Cora decides to take Gunnar with her to raise an army. First, she needs to find a former war general named Titus, a man who once turned his forces against the Motherworld's Imperium soldiers. With this, Gunnar and Cora ride to a nearby city called Providence to seek information. On their way, Gunnar tells Cora that he still believes that the soldiers wouldn't kill them if they provided what they requested, since they are just harmless farmers. However, Cora tells him the story of how she became an Imperium soldier. Cora reveals to him that her world was attacked by Belisarius' army, for nothing specifically, when she was just 9 years old. This was when she met Belisarius, who took her in and trained her as his own. Cora became his daughter and rose in rank to command her own army, as she ended up fighting in the name of the people who murdered her own family. The next day they arrive in the port city of Providence, only to see the informant they are looking for being captured by a band of bounty hunters known as Hawkshaws. However, Gunnar tells Cora that the Blood Axes once told him that they are sheltered on a planet called Charon, which is being protected by a king named Levitica. Afterward, they step into a bar to get a drink, and a beastly-looking creature offers to buy Gunnar from Cora as a sex slave, but Cora warns him to stay away. The creature pulls out a knife to threaten Cora, but she swiftly beats him up. Feeling humiliated, the creature leaves, and Cora announces to the people in the bar if they have any information about the location of General Titus. A parasitic creature speaking through a human body tells her that General Titus is at a coliseum on a planet known as Pollux. With this, they decide to leave, but the beastly creature returns with henchmen to get revenge. However, Cora manages to kill them all, and that's when she meets a smuggler named Kai who saves her from getting killed. Kai offers them a ride to Pollux on his ship, as he agrees to join their cause, but suggests that they drop by a ranch to pick up Tarek, a nobleman turned blacksmith. On getting there, they realize that Tarek is working for a man named Hickman to pay off his debts. Cora asks Hickman how much Tarek owes, and he says it is 300,000 dirhams. Realizing they don't have money, Hickman proposes a bet that if Tarek can tame Binu, a fierce flying beast, and ride on it, he'll clear off his debt. However, if he fails, they'll be his slave too. Cora asks Tarek if he can do it, and he says yes. With this, Cora accepts Hickman's bet, and Tarek calmly talks to Binu to let him ride it. Shortly after this, Binu submits to Tarek, taking him on a ride through the skies. Tarek later returns and leaves as a freeman. Next, they fly down to Dagus, a cobalt mining planet where they meet and recruit Nemesis, a talented cyborg swordswoman whom they watch save a child from the clutches of a grieving creature known as Harmada. Afterward, they arrive at the Colosseum in Pollux and soon find drunk General Titus lying filthy on the street. Cora orders them to clean him up, offering General Titus another chance to get revenge for the men he lost fighting against the Motherworld in the Battle of Sarawu, and he agrees. Meanwhile, the Hawkshaws present the informant to Noble. The informant begs to trade what he knows for his freedom, and Noble assures him of it. Then, the informant reveals that the Blood Axes are on planet Charon, under the protection of King Levitica. After this revelation, Noble kills him with a device attached to his head, stating that they'll be visiting King Levitica next. Meanwhile, Cora and her rising army arrive in Charon to meet King Levitica, who introduced them to the Blood Axes. Cora reveals to them that since Gunnar last sold grain to them, his village is now being threatened by Motherworld's most dreadful force known as the Dreadnoughts, or the King's Gaze. Devra refuses to join their cause, stating that it's suicidal to face the Dreadnoughts with such a small force. Cora gets angry at them, stating that the village farmers once toiled hard to feed them, but they have now chosen to abandon them at their most vulnerable moment. With this, Darian agrees to fight and calls out volunteers who are willing to defend the farmers. Milius, one of his most loyal fighters, steps out, and some others follow suit as they leave the planet. On their way, Kai tells Cora that he needs to drop off some merchandise for potential buyers at an unregistered trade port on planet Gondival before joining them to fight. Meanwhile, Dreadnoughts attack Charon, killing its people and destroying everything as Noble strikes King Levitica to death with his staff for taking in the rebels. Kai arrives on planet Gondival and orders the men on the ship to help him bring down the merchandise boxes he's brought for sale, warning them not to look inside. However, Cora begins to notice something strange, and soon realizes that they've been betrayed by Kai as Darian's spaceships get destroyed by the King's Gaze. Soon, the boxes break open, and exoskeletal robots seize Cora, General Titus, Tarek, Darian, and Nemesis, except Darian's men and Gunnar, who they of course didn't see as a threat but just a mere farmer. With this, Kai reveals that he had used Cora's idea of resistance to round them all up, stating that he's just made a lot of money, rounding up some of the most wanted people. Soon Noble arrives at the scene, and seeing the caliber of people captured, he begins to rejoice, stating that this victory will help him secure a seat in the Senate of the Mother World. While recounting how important each of the captured persons is to his dream, Noble describes Korra as the most wanted fugitive in the known universe, and reveals her real name as Arthale, the Scar Giver. Afterwards, Noble orders that they should be put in his ship, and Kai suggests that they should first paralyze them before transporting them to be on a safer side, since they are dealing with the most dangerous people in the universe. So, Kai shows Gunner how to use the paralyzing device, but just as Gunner is expected to pull the trigger, he uses it to release Korra, quickly pulls it out and kills Kai with it. A gun battle begins as Korra swiftly goes for her gun, prompting Darian's men to join the fight. Korra manages to shoot an explosive device close to Noble, which sends him flying in the air. Gunner proceeds to release the rest, and Nemesis unleashes her flaming sword on the Hawkshaws and Imperium soldiers. Darian also gets released, and he immediately commands his remaining pilots to mount their ships, but they soon get shut down by the King's gaze. Darian sees this and decides to go for revenge, as he makes a daring move to stab the ship's pilot through the cockpit. Darian misses on the first try but manages to stab the pilot even after getting shot, and subsequently manages to crash the ship. Seeing that the ship's crashing will sever the port into two parts, leaving Noble at the other side, Korra rushes to cross over in an attempt to go after him. The crash causes massive explosions, sending Noble down to a post platform. Soon, Korra attacks Noble and they begin to fight. However, Korra soon finds herself hanging on a rope, but still manages to get back up on the platform. The fight intensifies and Korra breaks Noble's staff, using it to stab him in multiple places as they fight. Korra also breaks his hands before knocking out his teeth and pushing him off the platform. Afterward, Tarak uses his rope-slinging skill to pull Korra's platform close to them, and General Titus admonishes them, stating that this small act of defiance is one of the greatest feats that will give voice to the voiceless and the beginning of something big. However, Korra assures them of getting their payment, stating that a deal is a deal. Finally, they arrive on planet Velt, and Jimmy watches them from afar as he had been standing guard all along. However, Noble's body gets retrieved by the Imperium medics as he has been summoned by Belisarius. It is revealed that Nobleman is a humanoid robot as they connect him to a machine in order to send his consciousness to have a virtual meeting on an astral plane with Belisarius. On getting there, Noble reveals to Belisarius that he's found Arthalace, the Scar Giver, in the company of disgraced General Titus, stating that he's now close to capturing them. However, Belisarius fears that the insurgency is blossoming upon learning that Arthalace has joined forces with battlefield commander General Titus. Noble promises to bring Belisarius the head of Arthalace, but Belisarius tells him that his head is more endangered, ordering him to crush the insurgency to the last man and bring Arthalace to him alive so he can execute her himself. Afterwards, Noble returns back to the lab, and the Imperium medics revive him. And the movie ends here. If you'd like to see us recap any other movies or topics you have in mind, just drop a comment and let us know. And don't forget to hit the like button, share this recap, and subscribe to stay updated for the next one. Until next time.